The 2018 season was a two-part tale for the Dallas Cowboys. The first is the story of a mediocre 3-5 team that couldn't get it going offensively. The second part is about a football team that turned its season around, made the playoffs, got a win in the postseason and ultimately lost to the team that ended up representing the NFC in Super Bowl LIII, the Los Angeles Rams. Surely, 2018 didn't go as planned. The storylines leading to last season are actually very different from the ones we're hearing today. Let's take a look at a few examples of how the tables have turned for the Dallas Cowboys. The need for a true WR1 last season. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys preached the philosophy of not needing a. While that could have sounded encouraging at the time, once the season began the team was proven wrong. They did need a WR1. Fortunately, this season we won't have to worry about it. This year, Dez Bryant shouldn't be a discussion topic among Cowboys fans. Amari Cooper is in the house. And he's been pretty good since he started playing with a star on his helmet. If we have conversations about the WR position, they will not be about who's the. With Michael Gallup showing up late in the season, it probably won't be about who is. Back on top of the NFC East last year, the Dallas Cowboys were not really the favorites to win the NFC East. The Philadelphia Eagles had just made history by winning their first Super Bowl ever, and it seemed like the Cowboys would have to get a wild-card spot to play in January. Now it's the Cowboys back on top after sweeping the Eagles and turning their once 3-5 season around. That, of course, means a tougher schedule next season. However, it's nice to be back on top of the division. These two teams will surely have an intense race for the division title next season. Maybe we even see them both in the playoffs for the second consecutive year. Sean Lee's uncertain future. I'm pretty sure no one expected Sean Lee to be considered a potential cap casualty for the 2019 season. Even if he was, it would have probably been anticipating an injury or something like that. No one would have imagined that Leighton Vander Esch would be so good to take Sean Lee's job. The Cowboys' first-round rookie truly earned the starting role as the defense's weak linebacker, and he should keep it. With Sean Lee set to return to the field, I'm sure we didn't expect him to be a backup by now. We'll have to wait and see if the Cowboys decide to part ways with him. As a fan, it would certainly be painful. But we can't deny it would be a move that makes sense. It's a crazy franchise on a crazy league. Who knows how things will go from now on, but the Dallas Cowboys certainly look like a promising team heading into the 2019 offseason. Here at Inside the Star, we'll continue to update you with the latest on your favorite NFL team. 2019 offseason. 2019 season. Dallas Cowboys. El año pasado, Earl Thomas fue uno de los temas de conversación más frecuentes para los aficionados de los Dallas Cowboys. Después de que los Seattle Seahawks no le dieron su deseada extensión de contrato, Thomas se convirtió en un candidato a ser intercambiado de su equipo. Entre los favoritos estaban los Cowboys, quienes tenían una necesidad en su defensiva secundaria. Ahora que la temporada 2018 llegó a su fin, la misma necesidad por un safety de calidad está presente en Dallas. Solo que en esta ocasión, Earl Thomas no está bajo contrato con ningún equipo. Su último momento con el uniforme de los Seahawks fue en un carro de lesiones, donde salió lesionado en dirección a su vestidor. Esto mientras se despedía de su equipo con el dedo de un medio extendido hacia sus entrenadores y compañeros. Así concluyó su temporada y su carrera en Seattle. Ahora, listo para cumplir los 30 años en mayo, Earl Thomas probar la agencia libre cuando comienza en marzo. Y sin lugar a dudas, uno de los equipos candidatos a formarlo serán los Dallas Cowboys. Es un equipo que a pesar de tener una de las mejores defensivas la temporada pasada, se vería muy beneficiada con la llegada de un profundo del calibre de Thomas. A pesar de su edad y las lesiones, Thomas continúa siendo uno de los mejores en la liga. Su talento es innegable y tendrá toda la disposición de demostrar lo que vale cuando tome el campo la próxima temporada. Cuando llegue el momento podríamos ver una guerra de fuerzas entre varios equipos de la NFL para llevarse al veterano a sus respectivas ciudades. La pregunta es, ¿estarán los Dallas Cowboys en esa guerra de fuerzas? Los Cowboys tienen espacio en el top salarial. Sin embargo, este no durará mucho considerando que DeMarcus Lawrence está esperando su merecida y cara extension después de jugar bajo la etiqueta franquicia en 2018. Además, jugadores que aún están bajo contrato también estarán buscando ofertas este offseason. Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, y Byron Jones están en la lista de jugadores de la administración. Y eso sin mencionar a Cole Beasley, cuyo contrato ya expira y podría llegar a la agencia libre en marzo. A pesar de esta complicada situación, los Dallas Cowboys deberían buscar conseguir a Thomas. Siendo sinceros, la defensiva tiene mucho talento y podría mantener su nivel en 2019. Pero hace falta un jugador en la posición de safety para llevar a esta unidad a otro nivel. Un nivel realmente capaz de ganar en postemporada enfrentándose a cualquier tipo de ofensiva. Sin importar que tan explosiva sea. Y además de esto, un jugador que sea capaz de robar el balón y hacer jugadas de impacto constantemente. Cuando los Cowboys se enfrentaron a Seahawks en temporada regular, Thomas dio un buen ejemplo de esto interceptando en 2 ocasiones a la ofensiva de Dak Prescott. A pasos de un equipo de campeonato, un movimiento agresivo para obtener el Thomas sería algo genial para Dallas. Vimos como los Rams de Los Angeles fueron agresivos al construir su equipo y llegaron hasta el Super Bowl este febrero. Ya es tiempo de que Jerry Jones y compañía sean igual de agresivos y vayan por ese safety elite que la afición leva pidiendo desde el offseason del año pasado. Amari Cooper was a dangerous man with the Dallas Cowboys after he arrived via trade from the Oakland Raiders last season. He was one of the big reasons why they were able to turn around a season that looked as if it was circling the drain, and I don't think anybody would argue the point. But I think he could be even more dangerous in 2019, especially if Cole Beasley departs via free agency. Unless you've been living under a rock, you pretty much know the topic of the Cowboys offseason so far has centered around Cole Beasley and his future with the organization. He has been invaluable in Dallas since arriving as an undrafted free agent in 2012, but it's looking more and more as if he could be taking his talents elsewhere in 2019. With Beasley more than likely moving on, the Cowboys will need to find someone who can replace his production in the passing game, especially in the slot. Everybody assumes Dallas needs to go outside the organization to find that player, but I'm not so sure. I think they already have a wide receiver more than capable of stepping in, and he just so happens to be their first-round draft pick this year. In case you haven't figured it out already, I'm talking about wide receiver Amari Cooper. He has mostly been used as an outside receiver in his professional career, but he does have the skill set and route running ability to be a really dangerous out of the slot. I'm not talking about a full-time move into the slot or anything, just a marginal increase in snaps. Dallas Cowboys WR Amari Cooper, AP photo, Rich Schultz. According to RotoWonderworld.com, only 12.6% of Amari Cooper's snaps in 2018 were out of the slot. For comparison's sake, Cole Beasley's snaps in the slot was 85.9%, the highest of any receiver in the NFL last season. That's a huge difference, not one the Cowboys should try to match with Cooper or any other potential slot WR replacement. Personally, I'd like to see Cooper's snaps playing out of the slot increase to around 20%. That would put him in Odell Beckham Jr. territory, 19.9%, and we all know how difficult he is to cover all over the field. It would likely do the same for Amari Cooper. I just really like the idea of him having the entire field to work with and the favorable matchup it creates with slot, nickel cornerbacks around the league. Can you imagine opposing defensive coordinators trying to figure out how to contain a player that has the kind of speed and route running ability that Amari Cooper has? They better stock up on Tylenol, because that is a surefire way to get a headache. This of course is just speculation at this point, especially since we don't know what the Cowboys' offense will look like with Kellen Moore taking over the play-calling duties. But if it was me, I'd be doing everything in my power to get the ball in the hands of my best WR, Amari Cooper, and that might mean increasing his snaps out of the slot. What do you think about using Amari Cooper out of the slot more often in 2019? Running back Duke Johnson was once considered one of the favorites to replace DeMarco Murray. It was believed at the time he was the Dallas Cowboys' target with their second-round pick in the 2015 NFL Draft, but unfortunately the Cleveland Browns beat them to the punch. The Cowboys instead had to settle for Randy Gregory, a consensus top 15 pick who saw his draft stock plummet because of multiple failed drug tests. Fast forward several years, and the Dallas Cowboys may once again have a shot at adding Duke Johnson to their backfield. Johnson could now be expendable after the Cleveland Browns decided to add Kareem Hunt to their RB room, although there is no indication of such a move being made as of yet. Regardless, this is definitely something the Cowboys and several other teams around the league will be watching closely. Duke Johnson is one of the new age running backs a lot of teams around the NFL are turning to here recently. His versatility to impact a game as both a runner and receiver would add tremendous value to any offense around the league, and could be exactly what the Dallas Cowboys are looking for from their RB2 behind Ezekiel Elliott. As a runner, Johnson is a perfect fit for the Dallas Cowboys' blocking scheme. Their run game is heavily focused on zone schemes, inside and outside zone schemes, with some power schemes, draws, counters, and crack toss mixed in as well. Almost the exact kind of scheme that turned Johnson into the all-time leading rusher at Miami, which is pretty impressive considering Clinton Portis, Frank Gore, and Willis McGahee all toted the rock ahead of him for the Hurricanes. Cleveland Browns RB Duke Johnson. It's Johnson's pass-catching ability that really endears him to teams around the league though. He is one of the best receiving running backs in the entire NFL, and I'm just not talking about screens and dump-off passes. He can split out wide like a receiver and have just as much impact in the passing game. With the Cowboys, he could help replace some of Cole Beasley's production if he leaves via free agency. All of this sounds good of course, but it will all come down to whether or not the Cleveland Browns decide to part ways with Duke Johnson and if the Cowboys would actually be interested. This is where the speculation part of all this comes in. Unfortunately, as much as many of us would like to see Duke Johnson in a Dallas Cowboys uniform in 2019, I just don't see it happening. To acquire Johnson, the Cowboys would have to surrender a draft pick in this year's draft. If it was nothing more than a fourth-rounder, I think they'd be on board, but I think the Browns' asking price would likely be more. Free agency also has a couple of quality RBs the Cowboys could go after without having to give up a draft pick. Yeldon is someone that comes to mind, and he just so happens to have a skill set similar to Johnson's. Then there is always the draft, which would be even more cost-effective. I wouldn't rule out the possibility of the Cowboys trying to pry Duke Johnson away from the Cleveland Browns though. Anything's possible I guess, but personally I just don't see it happening. Would you go after Duke Johnson if you are the Dallas Cowboys?